97% of people will never reach their full potential. They will talk about success, dream about wealth, and imagine a better future. But they will never step away from the habits, the thinking patterns, and the limitations that are keeping them stuck. They will stay comfortable. They will make excuses. They will convince themselves that success is for other people, but not for them. And that is why most people will never rise above mediocrity. Success is not about luck. It's not about talent. It's about mindset. The top 3%, the ones who build real wealth and lasting success, think differently, act differently, and make decisions that separate them from the crowd. If you want to succeed at the highest level, you have to walk away from the 97%. You have to stop thinking like them, acting like them, and living like them. The majority are not winning. They are surviving. They're going through life on autopilot, working jobs they hate, settling for less, avoiding discomfort, and convincing themselves that this is just the way life is. They surround themselves with people who are equally stuck, reinforcing the same limiting beliefs, the same excuses, the same mediocrity. And that is why they stay in the same place year after year. The 3% have figured something out that the rest of the world ignores. Success is not about working harder. It is about thinking differently. Most people are trapped by their environment. They are surrounded by people who think small, dream small, and live small. They have conversations about problems instead of opportunities. They talk about what they cannot do instead of what they can do. They focus on limitations instead of possibilities. The 3% remove themselves from that environment. They seek out people who think bigger, who expect more from themselves, who are committed to growth, because they understand that the people you surround yourself with will dictate your future. If you want to think differently, if you want to live differently, you have to be around people who challenge you to grow. The truth is, most people are not willing to do what it takes to succeed. They want success, but they are not willing to make the sacrifices required. They want wealth, but they are not willing to delay gratification. They want a better life, but they are not willing to leave behind the comfort of their current life. The 3% understand that you cannot create a new reality while holding on to the old one. You cannot rise while staying attached to comfort. You cannot grow while staying attached to familiarity. That is why they separate themselves from the 97%, because they know that most people will never commit fully. The 97% play it safe. They are obsessed with avoiding failure. They make decisions based on fear. They hold back because they are afraid of looking foolish. They avoid risk because they are afraid of losing. But the 3% operate differently. They understand that failure is part of the process. They know that you cannot succeed without risking failure. They have trained themselves to take action despite uncertainty. They know that most people will hesitate, overthink, and talk themselves out of opportunities. So they take action while others are still deciding. And that is why they win. The biggest difference between the 97% and the 3% is mindset. The majority are driven by fear. The minority are driven by possibility. The 97% think in terms of scarcity. They focus on what is missing, what is wrong, and what they lack. The 3% think in terms of abundance. They focus on what is possible, what is available, and what they can create. The difference in thinking creates a massive gap in results. Most people are playing not to lose. The 3% are playing to win. Most people are avoiding pain. The 3% are pursuing growth. That shift in mindset is what creates extraordinary success. Walking away from the 97% means you have to think differently, act differently, and expect more from yourself. It means you have to reject the idea that success is for other people. It means you have to stop blaming your circumstances, your past, and your environment, and start taking full responsibility for your future. It means you have to develop the kind of discipline and focus that most people are not willing to maintain. And that is why so few people succeed, because they are not willing to separate themselves from the thinking, habits, and excuses that are keeping the majority stuck. The 3% are not special. They have simply made a decision to operate differently, and that decision changes everything. The reason 97% of people stay stuck is because they are following the wrong blueprint. They are modeling their lives after people who are not winning. They are taking advice from people who are not successful. They are adopting habits from people who are just getting by. Most people's financial habits, career decisions, and lifestyle choices are influenced by the people around them. People who are part of the 97%. And that is why they stay stuck in the cycle of mediocrity. If you want to succeed, you have to stop following the crowd. You have to break away from the thinking patterns and behaviors that are keeping the majority trapped. The 97% are focused on survival. They are focused on getting through the week, paying their bills, and keeping things stable. Their goals are small because their thinking is small. They are more concerned with avoiding failure than they are with creating success. They are focused on protecting what they have instead of building something bigger. That is why most people live paycheck to paycheck, why most people are drowning in debt, and why most people never create real wealth. They are playing defense. They are operating from a scarcity mindset. The 3% are different because they play offense. They are not focused on surviving. They are focused on winning. They are not trying to protect what they have. They are trying to multiply it. Most people operate with a short-term mindset. They make decisions based on immediate gratification. They spend money they do not have to buy things they do not need to impress people who are not paying attention. They finance cars they cannot afford. They live in houses that stretch them financially. They spend their weekends partying or just laying around. Either way, they are wasting time because they think they have more of it than they actually do. The 3% think differently. They operate with a long-term mindset. They understand the power of compounding money, compounding effort, compounding discipline. They are willing to sacrifice comfort today for greater rewards tomorrow. That shift in mindset is why they create wealth while the majority stay broke. The 97% are controlled by their environment. If everyone around them is living paycheck to paycheck, they assume that is normal. If everyone around them is overweight, unhealthy, and out of shape, they assume that is normal. If everyone around them is negative, cynical, and full of excuses, they assume that is how life is supposed to be. But the 3% have learned how to take control of their environment. They understand that the people you surround yourself with will influence your thinking, your decisions, and your outcomes. They remove themselves from environments that keep them stuck. They are intentional about building relationships with people who are playing at a higher level. They surround themselves with people who challenge them, push them, and expect more from them. The majority are stuck because they never elevate their standards. They are comfortable with average. They are comfortable doing just enough to get by. They are comfortable working a job they do not love, living in a house they can barely afford, and settling for a lifestyle that does not excite them. The 3% are not comfortable with average. They expect more from themselves. They hold themselves to a higher standard. They do not settle for good enough. They aim for excellence. That shift in standards creates a massive gap in results. Most people are content with doing just enough to get by. The 3% are constantly raising the bar for themselves. Most people never succeed because they are waiting for permission. They are waiting for someone to tell them it is okay to go after their dreams. They are waiting for someone to give them a guarantee that things will work out. They are waiting for conditions to be perfect before they take action. The 3% are not waiting for permission. They do not need approval. They do not need certainty. They take action even when they do not have all the answers. They understand that success is not about knowing exactly how things will work out. It is about trusting yourself to figure it out as you go. They move while others are still hesitating. That is why they succeed while others stay stuck. The 97% are controlled by fear. Fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of rejection. And because they are controlled by fear, they stay in their comfort zone. They avoid taking risks. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid putting themselves in situations where they might lose. But the 3% are not fearless. They have simply trained themselves to act despite fear. They understand that fear is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that you are stepping into growth. The 97% retreat when they feel fear. The 3% push forward. That ability to take action despite fear is why they create opportunities while others are still thinking about it. Most people think success is about working hard. But working hard is not enough if you are working on the wrong things. Most people work hard, but they are working hard on low-value activities. They are working hard at jobs that will never create wealth. They are working hard to maintain a lifestyle that is built on debt. The 3% are strategic about where they put their effort. They focus on high-leverage activities, things that create long-term wealth, things that build systems, things that allow them to multiply their time and income. Most people are trading time for money. The 3% are building systems that make money even when they are not working. That shift in focus creates exponential results. The 97% are focused on income. They think that if they can just make more money, their problems will go away. But the 3% are not focused on income. They are focused on assets. They understand that wealth is not about how much you make. It is about how much you keep and multiply. They are focused on acquiring assets that generate cash flow. They are focused on building businesses, investing in real estate, and creating streams of passive income. Most people are stuck in the paycheck to paycheck cycle because they are focused on making money instead of building wealth. The 3% are playing a different game. Most people are stuck because they have never learned how to manage money. They spend everything they make. They take on debt to fund a lifestyle they cannot afford. They think that if they can just earn more money, their financial problems will go away. But the 3% know that wealth is not about how much you earn. It is about how you manage what you earn. They have learned how to live below their means. They have learned how to invest wisely. They have learned how to let their money work for them. That shift in financial discipline is why the 3% build wealth while the majority struggle financially their entire lives. The difference between the 97% and the 3% is not intelligence. It is not talent. It is not luck. It is mindset. The 3% have trained themselves to think differently, to act differently, and to expect more from themselves. They have developed the ability to delay gratification. They have learned how to operate with focus, discipline, and clarity. They have built the kind of internal strength that allows them to stay consistent, even when the results are not showing yet. That difference in mindset creates a massive gap in outcomes. Most people are struggling because they are operating with the wrong mindset. The 3% are succeeding because they have trained themselves to think and operate at a higher level. The 97% operate from a place of scarcity. They believe that resources are limited, that opportunities are rare, and that success is a matter of luck. They see someone else winning, and they assume that means less is available for them. They compete instead of collaborate. They protect instead of create. They focus on what they do not have instead of what they can build. The 3% think in terms of abundance. They understand that opportunities are everywhere. They know that money is not limited, it is created. They know that success is not a zero-sum game. They believe that success is not about taking from others. It is about creating value. And that difference in perspective allows them to create opportunities that others cannot see. Most people are controlled by comparison. They measure their success based on how they are doing relative to other people. They care more about looking successful than actually being successful. They buy things they cannot afford to impress people they do not even like. They live for validation. But the 3% are not driven by external approval. They are not focused on looking successful. They are focused on being successful. They are not worried about fitting in. They are focused on building something real. They understand that real success comes from internal alignment, not external validation. And that mindset allows them to stay focused while others are distracted by trying to keep up with appearances. The 97% are controlled by emotions. If they feel motivated, they work hard. If they feel tired, they slow down. If they feel discouraged, they quit. They allow their emotional state to dictate their action. The 3% have trained themselves to act independently of their emotion. They work when they are tired. They execute when they are uninspired. They push forward even when they feel like quitting. They understand that success is not about how you feel. It is about what you do. That ability to separate emotion from action is why they are consistent when others are inconsistent. Most people waste time. They say they are busy, but they are not productive. They fill their days with low-value tasks. They check their email 20 times a day. Check that clock every 5 minutes. But the 3% are ruthless about time. They understand that time is their most valuable asset. They protect their schedule. They eliminate distractions. They create systems that allow them to maximize their time. They know that success is not about working more hours. It is about getting more done in fewer hours. They are not busy. They are effective. Most people think wealth is about working harder. But the 3% know that wealth is about leverage. They understand that hard work alone will not make you rich. They know that you cannot create massive wealth by trading time for money. They focus on building systems that generate income without their constant involvement. They build businesses. They invest in assets. They create intellectual property. They multiply their income streams. Most people are stuck in the cycle of working harder and harder for diminishing returns. The 3% have learned how to make money work for them. That shift from labor to leverage is why they build wealth while the majority struggle. Most people are focused on saving money. They think that if they can just spend less, they will get ahead. They clip coupons. They look for discounts. They focus on cutting costs. But the 3% are not focused on saving. They're focused on creating. They understand that you cannot cut your way to wealth. They focus on increasing their income, building new income streams, and multiplying their money. They are not worried about how much they spend. They are focused on how much they earn. That shift in focus from defense to offense is why they build wealth while others are trying to save their way to financial security. The 97% are risk averse. They want guarantees. They want certainty. They want to know exactly how things will work out before they take action. And because of that, they hesitate. They delay. They talk themselves out of opportunities. The 3% are not reckless. They are calculated. But they understand that success requires risk. They know that you cannot grow without stepping into uncertainty. They know that the best opportunities come with no guarantees. They have trained themselves to act despite uncertainty. They are not attached to the outcome. They are focused on the process. And that ability to take action despite uncertainty is why they create opportunities while others are still waiting for the right time. Most people settle for comfort. They choose jobs that are secure. They choose lifestyles that are predictable. They avoid situations that stretch them because they do not want to feel uncomfortable. But the 3% are not looking for comfort. They are looking for growth. They understand that growth requires discomfort. They know that in order to get to the next level, they have to step into situations where they are not fully prepared. They are willing to take on challenges that force them to adapt and improve. That willingness to lean into discomfort is why they grow while others stay stagnant. Most people avoid confrontation. They are afraid to have difficult conversations. They are afraid to set boundaries. They avoid speaking up because they do not want to upset other people. But the 3% are not afraid of confrontation. They have learned how to communicate clearly and directly. They set boundaries. They hold people accountable. They know that in order to lead, you have to be willing to have uncomfortable conversations. They are not rude, but they are direct. They are not aggressive, but they are firm. They have learned that success requires strength, not weakness. That willingness to hold people accountable is why they build strong teams and strong businesses. The 97% are focused on consumption. They spend money as soon as they earn it. They buy cars, clothes, and gadgets to feel successful. But the 3% are focused on investment. They put their money into things that grow. They invest in themselves. They invest in their businesses. They invest in assets that generate cash flow. They understand that success is not about how much you earn. It is about how much you multiply. Most people stay broke because they are focused on spending. The 3% build wealth because they are focused on multiplying. The 97% think success is about luck. They think the people who are winning just got lucky. They convince themselves that wealthy people were born into it or that successful people had advantages that they didn't have. But the 3% understand that success is about strategy. It is about habits. It is about execution. They do not rely on luck. They create opportunities through action. They know that luck is not something you wait for. It is something you create through preparation and consistent effort. Most people are waiting for life to get easier. The 3% are making life easier through disciplined execution. The difference between the 97% and the 3% is not luck. It is not talent. It is not resources. It is mindset. The 97% think like consumers. The 3% think like creators. The 97% operate from fear. The 3% operate from strength. The 97% settle for comfort. The 3% are driven by growth. And that difference in mindset creates a massive difference in results. Most people are stuck because they are thinking, acting, and living like the 97%. The 3% are winning because they have trained themselves to think, act, and operate differently. That shift in mindset is what creates wealth and success. The 97% are trapped in the cycle of comfort. They work just hard enough to maintain their current lifestyle, but not hard enough to elevate it. They are comfortable with where they are, even if they're not happy. They tell themselves that things are fine. They convince themselves that they are doing better than most people, so there is no need to push harder. But the 3% know that comfort is the enemy of progress. They understand that the moment you stop growing, you start dying. They are not interested in being comfortable. They are interested in being exceptional. That mindset is why they continue to improve while the majority stay stuck. Most people are waiting for motivation. They tell themselves that they will work harder when they feel inspired. They will start their business when the timing is right. They will invest in themselves when they have more money. But the 3% understand that motivation is unreliable. They know that if they wait until they feel ready, they will never start. They take action when they do not feel like it. They execute even when they're tired. They understand that motivation follows action. It does not precede it. That ability to operate independently of motivation is why they stay consistent while others are constantly starting and stopping. The 97% are driven by feelings. If they feel discouraged, they stop. If they feel tired, they take a break. If they feel overwhelmed, they slow down. But the 3% have trained themselves to separate action from emotion. They understand that success is not about how you feel, it is about what you do. They have created habits and systems that keep them on track. Regardless of how they feel, they have built routines that keep them focused even when motivation fades. That ability to stay consistent even when they are not inspired is why they build momentum while others struggle with inconsistency. Most people are reactive. They wait for opportunities instead of creating them. They wait for the market to improve. They wait for someone to give them permission. They wait for the right time. The 3% are proactive. They are not waiting. They are moving. They do not wait for opportunities. They create them. They do not wait for permission. They give themselves permission. They know that action creates clarity. Most people are stuck because they are waiting for certainty. The 3% are succeeding because they are willing to act despite uncertainty. The 97% are controlled by distractions, checking the clock at work, watching TV at home. They waste time on conversations that go nowhere. But the 3% protect their focus with intensity. They know that attention is a currency. They guard it carefully. They create boundaries around their time. They eliminate low-value activities. They know that success is not about doing more. It is about doing the right things. They are not busy. They are productive. That difference in focus is why they accomplish more in a year than most people accomplish in a decade. Most people are spending their time, not investing it. They are busy, but they are not productive. They are working, but they are not building. They are filling their schedule with activities that keep them occupied, but not moving forward. The 3% are intentional about their time. They understand that time is their most valuable resource. They prioritize high-leverage activities, things that create long-term value. They focus on building systems, creating assets, and multiplying their results. That ability to focus on high-value activities is why they achieve exponential success, while others are stuck in cycles of busy work. The 97% are controlled by comfort. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid situations that challenge them. They avoid people who expect more from them. But the 3% have conditioned themselves to seek out discomfort. They know that discomfort is the gateway to growth. They put themselves in situations where they have to think faster, work harder, and perform better. They understand that success is not about avoiding pressure. It is about learning how to operate under pressure. That willingness to embrace discomfort is why they rise while others retreat. Most people avoid failure. They are terrified of looking foolish. They are afraid of making the wrong move. They hesitate because they do not want to lose. But the 3% are not afraid of failure. They expect it. They understand that failure is part of the process. They know that every setback is an opportunity to learn, adjust, and improve. They have trained themselves to detach from the outcome and focus on the process. That ability to embrace failure without letting it affect their confidence is why they recover quickly while others are still licking their wounds. Most people are looking for easy money. They want to win without putting in the work. They chase the next big trend. They jump from one idea to the next. They are constantly looking for a shortcut. But the 3% understand that real wealth is not built overnight. They know that success requires patience, consistency, and discipline. They play the long game. They are willing to put in the work for years to create results that compound over time. That ability to stay focused on the long-term game is why they build real wealth while others are chasing quick wins. The 97% are controlled by their ego. They want to look successful even when they are not. They are more focused on impressing others than building something real. They spend money they do not have to project an image of success. But the 3% are not focused on appearances. They are focused on results. They are willing to look foolish in the short term to win in the long term. They are not interested in looking successful. They are interested in being successful. That willingness to sacrifice short-term image for long-term success is why they win, while others are still trying to impress people who do not matter. Most people are driven by comfort and convenience. They want success, but they want it to be easy. They want wealth, but they want it to be fast. They want growth, but they want it to feel good. But the 3% understand that success requires sacrifice. They know that growth comes through pressure. They know that the path to success is difficult. They are not trying to avoid the hard part. They are embracing it. That willingness to face resistance head on is why they break through while others stay stuck. Most people avoid accountability. They do not want to be held responsible for their actions. They blame the economy, the government, their boss, or their parents. They make excuses for why they are not where they want to be. But the 3% take full responsibility for their results. They do not make excuses. They do not blame other people. They own their failures. They own their successes. They know that the moment you take responsibility for your life, you take back control of your future. That level of accountability is why they succeed while others are stuck in cycles of blame and victimhood. The difference between the 97% and the 3% is not talent. It is not luck. It is not privilege. It is mindset. The 3% have trained themselves to think differently. They have conditioned themselves to act differently. They have built the mental strength, emotional control, and strategic thinking that allows them to operate at a higher level. Most people are stuck because they are thinking, acting, and living like the 97%. The 3% are winning because they have trained themselves to think, act, and operate differently. That shift in mindset creates a massive difference in results. The 97% are trapped by the need for approval. They make decisions based on what other people think. They worry about being judged. They hesitate to take action because they are afraid of criticism. They conform to social norms, even when those norms are keeping them stuck. They dress to impress. They speak to please. They live their lives according to other people's expectations. But the 3% are not controlled by the need for approval. They trust their own judgment. They are not concerned with what other people think because they know that most people are not winning. They have realized that you cannot live an extraordinary life if you're constantly trying to please people who are living an ordinary life. That detachment from approval is why they operate with confidence while others are controlled by fear. Most people play it safe. They choose jobs that offer security. They avoid risks. They settle for predictable outcomes. They believe that if they can just keep things stable, they will eventually get ahead. But the 3% understand that security is an illusion. They know that the job market can change overnight. They know that inflation can wipe out savings. They know that relying on a single source of income is a dangerous strategy. That is why they focus on building multiple income streams. They diversify their investments. They create businesses that generate cash flow. They know that real security does not come from playing it safe. It comes from building a foundation so strong that no economic shift can shake it. The 97% live for the weekend. They spend 5 days a week counting down until Friday. They spend their weekends escaping from the life they created. They spend their money trying to feel better about their situation. They go out to dinner, they drink, they binge watch TV, and they tell themselves they deserve a break. But the 3% do not live for the weekend. They live for the mission. They are not looking to escape because they have built a life they do not need to escape from. They wake up energized on Monday because they are working towards something meaningful. They are not numbing themselves with distractions because they are already fulfilled by the work they are doing. That shift from escape to purpose is why they stay motivated while others are stuck in cycles of exhaustion and recovery. Most people think money will solve their problems. They think that if they could just make more money, their life would get better. But the 3% understand that money is not the solution. It is a byproduct of the right mindset, the right habits, and the right strategy. They focus on building the foundation first. They focus on improving their skills, expanding their network, and creating value. They know that once they become the kind of person who creates value, money will follow automatically. That shift from focusing on money to focusing on value is why they succeed while others are constantly chasing the next paycheck. The 97% are reactive with money. They spend what they make. They react to emergencies. They live paycheck to paycheck. They hope that they will have enough left over at the end of the month. But the 3% are strategic with money. They have a plan. They know exactly where their money is going. They automate their savings and investments. They live below their means, not because they have to, but because they know that financial discipline creates freedom. They are not impulsive with money. They are intentional. That difference in money management is why they build wealth while others are stuck in cycles of financial stress. Most people are emotionally attached to money. When they lose money, they panic. When they make money, they feel validated. They let their emotional state rise and fall with their bank balance. But the 3% have learned how to detach emotionally from money. They know that money is a tool, not an identity. They do not let financial setbacks affect their self-worth. They understand that wealth is built through consistency, not emotional highs and lows. That emotional detachment is why they stay composed when others are panicking. It allows them to make sound financial decisions even when the market is volatile. Most people are focused on looking successful instead of being successful. They buy expensive cars they cannot afford. They wear designer clothes to impress people. They rent homes that are beyond their budget because they want to project an image of success. But the 3% understand that real success is not about how things look. It is about how things operate. They would rather drive an old car and own 3 rental properties than lease a luxury car and have 0 assets. They focus on building financial strength, not appearances. That focus on substance over image is why they create generational wealth while others are drowning in debt. The 97% are driven by competition. They are focused on winning at the expense of others. They are jealous when someone else succeeds. They want to be better than other people. But the 3% are not driven by competition. They are driven by growth. They understand that success is not about beating other people. It is about becoming the best version of yourself. They are not threatened by other people's success. They are inspired by it. They collaborate. They share information. They lift others up. That abundance mindset is why they succeed collectively, while others are stuck in cycles of envy and insecurity. Most people are trying to avoid responsibility. They want someone else to solve their problems. They want someone else to give them opportunities. They want someone else to take the blame when things go wrong. But the 3% take extreme ownership of their lives. They do not expect handouts. They do not expect life to be fair. They know that their future is 100% their responsibility. They take control of their decisions, their habits, and their outcomes. They understand that the moment you take full responsibility for your life, you reclaim your power. That level of ownership is why they succeed, while others are waiting for someone else to fix their problems. The 97% are looking for shortcuts. They want to know the fastest way to get rich. They want to know the easiest way to build a business. They are searching for hacks and tricks. But the 3% know that success is not about shortcuts. It is about consistency. They understand that success is not sexy. It is about doing the work every day for years. It is about mastering the fundamentals. It is about building something brick by brick. They know that most people will give up long before the results start to show. That willingness to commit to the long game is why they win while others are still searching for the next quick fix. The difference between the 97% and the 3% is not resources. It is resourcefulness. The 97% are waiting for someone to give them an opportunity. They are waiting for the right conditions. They are waiting for the economy to improve. But the 3% are not waiting. They are creating. They know that success is not about what you have. It is about what you do with what you have. They are not waiting for the economy to improve. They are building businesses that thrive in any economy. They are not waiting for opportunities. They are creating them. That difference in resourcefulness is why they succeed while others are stuck in cycles of waiting and hoping. The difference between the 97% and the 3% is not education. It is not talent. It is not luck. It is the ability to think differently, act differently, and operate differently. The 3% are not doing anything magical. They have simply trained themselves to think at a higher level. They have created habits that allow them to execute consistently. They have built the mental strength to stay focused under pressure. They have mastered the art of taking action even when things are uncertain. And that difference in mindset is why they create extraordinary results while others stay stuck in cycles of mediocrity. Most people never succeed because they are controlled by comfort. They choose the path of least resistance. They take the easy route. They avoid situations that challenge them. They look for shortcuts. They convince themselves that if it feels hard, it must be wrong. But the 3% understand that the path to success is supposed to be hard. They know that discomfort is a sign that they are growing. They do not avoid difficult situations. They seek them out. They understand that pressure creates strength. That willingness to embrace discomfort is why they rise while others stay stagnant. The 97% are controlled by excuses. They tell themselves they are too old, too young, too busy, too tired, too broke. They tell themselves they do not have the right resources, the right connections, or the right timing. They give themselves reasons to stay where they are. But the 3% reject excuses. They understand that no one cares about their excuses. They know that success is not about having perfect conditions. It is about taking action despite imperfect conditions. They have trained themselves to focus on solutions instead of problems. That refusal to make excuses is why they keep moving forward while others stay stuck. Most people overthink. They spend too much time analyzing, planning, and preparing. They convince themselves that they need more information before they can start. They want to know exactly how things will work out before they make a move. And because of that, they stay stuck. The 3% do not overthink. They execute. They understand that action creates clarity. They know that you cannot figure it all out in advance. They take the first step, gather feedback, adjust, and keep moving forward. That willingness to act quickly without having all the answers is why they create momentum, while others are still thinking about it. Most people are stuck in cycles of inconsistency. They work hard for a few weeks, then slow down. They start projects but never finish them. They are excited at the beginning, but they lose motivation when things get hard. But the 3% are relentless. They have trained themselves to stay consistent even when motivation fades. They have built habits and systems that keep them on track. They know that success is not about intensity. It is about consistency. That ability to stay consistent over time is why they create results that compound while others are starting and stopping. The 97% are looking for motivation. They listen to motivational speeches. They follow influencers. They attend seminars. They consume content, hoping that it will inspire them to take action. But the 3% understand that. Motivation is unreliable. They know that motivation comes and goes. They have built systems that allow them to execute regardless of how they feel. They are not relying on motivation. They are relying on discipline. That ability to take action without needing to feel inspired is why they keep progressing while others are waiting to feel ready. Most people are stuck because they are waiting for the perfect time. They tell themselves that they will start when the kids are older, when they have more money, when they have more time. But the 3% know that the perfect time does not exist. They take action now, even when the conditions are not ideal. They understand that action creates opportunity. They are not waiting for the right moment. They are creating the right moment. That willingness to act before they feel ready is why they create results while others are still waiting. The 97% are focused on the short term. They are thinking about this month's paycheck. They are focused on the next vacation. They are trying to make it through the week, but the 3% are focused on the long term. They are not concerned with quick wins. They are building something that will last. They are playing the 10-year game. They are planting seeds that will not produce fruit for years. They understand that wealth and success are built through consistency and patience. That long-term mindset is why they create exponential growth while others are stuck chasing temporary wins. Most people avoid hard work. They are constantly looking for an easier way. They think that if something feels hard, they must be doing it wrong. But the 3% understand that hard work is part of the process. They are not afraid of effort. They know that you cannot grow without strain. They are not trying to avoid the hard part. They are embracing it. They know that discomfort is the price of progress. That willingness to put in the work when others are trying to avoid it is why they succeed while others stay stuck. The 97% are stuck because they lack clarity. They are drifting through life without a clear target. They are making decisions based on circumstances instead of strategy. They are working hard, but they are not working toward anything specific. The 3% have a clear vision. They know exactly what they want. They have written goals. They have detailed plans. They track their progress. They adjust their strategy when necessary. They are not moving aimlessly. They are moving with precision. That clarity of purpose is why they create momentum while others are spinning in circles. Most people are living small because they are thinking small. They have never taken the time to define a bigger future for themselves. They have accepted the idea that they are not meant for extraordinary success. But the 3% have given themselves permission to think bigger. They know that there are no limits except the ones they impose on themselves. They refuse to settle for average. They expect more from themselves. They dream bigger, plan bigger, and execute bigger. That willingness to think on a larger scale is why they build extraordinary lives while others are settling for survival. The difference between the 97% and the 3% is not education, talent, or background. It is not connections or luck. It is mindset. It is habits. It is decisions. The 3% have trained themselves to think differently, act differently, and expect more from themselves. They have conditioned themselves to operate at a higher level. They have built the kind of internal strength that allows them to succeed under any circumstance. That difference in mindset creates a massive difference in outcomes. The 97% are surviving. The 3% are thriving. And that gap is only growing wider. Walking away from the 97% is not easy. It requires you to think differently, act differently, and expect more from yourself. It requires you to let go of the need for approval. It requires you to stop seeking comfort and start pursuing growth. It requires you to detach from the habits, the thinking patterns, and the environments that are keeping most people stuck. Most people will not understand why you are doing it. They will tell you that you are working too hard, that you are being too extreme, that you are taking things too seriously. They will try to pull you back into the comfort of mediocrity. But if you want to succeed at the highest level, you cannot live like most people. You have to separate yourself from the crowd. Walking away from the 97% means making hard decisions. It means cutting off relationships that are no longer serving you. It means setting boundaries with people who are holding you back. It means saying no to short-term pleasure so you can create long-term success. It means disappointing people who expect you to stay the same. It means being misunderstood. It means facing criticism. But the 3% understand that success is not about being liked. It is about being respected. They understand that growth requires sacrifice, and they are willing to make that sacrifice because they know that the reward is worth it. Most people will never make that decision. They will stay in the comfort of 97%. They will continue thinking small, acting small, and living small. They will convince themselves that success is for other people. They will tell themselves that they are doing the best they can. They will blame the economy, their upbringing, and their circumstances. But the 3% have realized that success is not about circumstances. It is about decisions. They have made the decision to think differently. They have made the decision to operate at a higher level. They have made the decision to expect more from themselves. And that decision changes everything. The truth is, most people will never walk away from the 97% because they are too afraid. They are afraid of failing. They are afraid of looking foolish. They are afraid of leaving behind the comfort of the familiar. But the 3% have realized that the real failure is staying stuck. The real failure is looking back on your life and realizing that you never reached your full potential because you were too afraid to try. They know that temporary discomfort is a small price to pay for long-term freedom. They know that growth comes through struggle. They know that success requires risk, and they are willing to take that risk because they know that staying the same is the greatest risk of all